Mike is a especially gifted bottleneck style guitar player, and he uses this slide on his third finger and simply makes all his chords with this finger, and this finger. And I don't know how he does it, but he said, you know, that's just the way, you know. The thing is that it makes sense to wear it on your fourth finger because you don't fret above the slide, right? Like the highest note you play is going to be the note that you're playing with the bottleneck. And then the technique that I'm using over here is, this is another thing, is when you play bottleneck guitar, I'm trying to play it at an angle, right? So I'm addressing the first string with the slide, so I'm holding the slide out at a little bit of an angle. And a lot of slide guitar is, the first thing people get when they put a slide on is cover up all the strings and then go around and do that. When actually really good slide guitar, very seldom, you very seldom play full chords like that with the slide, right? That's more about single notes and double stops. You know, you want articulation there. So I'm addressing the first string here and I'm holding the slide out at an angle like this. So it just touches that string. It's a light touch. If you hear that, right, that means you're pressing too hard. If you hear that, it means you're not pressing hard enough, right? And I try to use a slide. My bottleneck is, my bottleneck is 2 1/4 inches long. It has a 3-degree flare. The inside diameter on the small side of the flare is precisely 3/4 of an inch, and it weighs 52 grams. I've lost my mind. Anyway, but yeah, there it is. And and I have the slides polished here and beveled on the end, so I can use the tip of it to play interior strings. But basically, you know, using a small part of the slide, the finesse part of slide guitar playing involves muting, right? So when you play with the slide, one thing you do is you mute behind it with this finger right over here. You drag this finger behind the slide and mute, just the way a steel guitar player would, except a steel guitar player holds the bar in their hand and they mute with these fingers and behind the slide. And it's kind of, there's ambient noise here. Hey, would you birds give it a break? This is such a nice place. But anyway, I think you can hear this, okay? Unmuted, listen to the high harmonic that's created by the distal portion of my string when I play without muting. Can you hear that high whistling sound? Right? That's the short part of the string vibrating, which is not a bad effect. Like Ferry Lewis, the guy that I mentioned earlier, used to use that a lot to open the guitar up. He would use that, but you want to have control over it because a lot of times you don't want to hear it. You just want to hear, right, your straight note, and you get a longer decay rate that way if you mute the back side of the string, because the less of the string that's vibrating, then the more slowly it dissipates energy, and the longer you sustain. You have to say it with an English accent. Sustain. Anyways, but so I mute, and when you do play chords with the slide, it's especially important to mute behind the slide. Otherwise, the guitar makes a big racket. So cut down on that by muting. So that's a little slide guitar technique there. See, so wearing the slide on your fourth finger is, you know, it's not the law, because there are no laws in slide guitar, right? But the one thing, you see a lot of people, you often see people that wear the slide on their middle finger, right? Which creates technical problems that are nearly insurmountable as far as I'm concerned. And you know the reason why they're doing it, right? Is because probably one of the highest visibility slide guitar players of the late 20th century wears the guitar on their middle finger, and I'm talking about Bonnie Raitt. Right? Mm-hmm. And so people see Bonnie playing and they go, I want the $1 million too. So they put the slide on their middle finger. Then I have to teach them how to play like Booker White, and they can't do it, you know. But and you notice what Bonnie does, actually, Bonnie Raitt, what she does is she usually uses the slide to play single string solos. You know, so when she uses the bottleneck on the guitar, she doesn't really use her fingers except to mute. She just plays, you know. like that, rather than a fingerstyle motif, right? Am I making any sense here? So this is my tuning. Furry called this the learning key. Oh, Vastapool, that's the learning key. And if you're interested in, if you're a bottleneck guitar, kind of like a neophyte, you know, then this is a good tuning to start out in, because your top string and your low string are the tonic note of the key you're playing, right? So I'm in the key, this is an open D chord, D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. I like the name Vastapool because you see, now follow this one, all right? You could also tune the guitar E, B, E, G, B, E. You'd be in a different key, but you'd be in the same tuning. You get it? 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. And so Vastapool refers to the tuning that has the tonic note as the lowest and highest pitch in the tuning. That's Vastapool. And it can be open E tuning, it can be open D tuning. Sister Rosetta Tharpe and Josh White were both fond of this tuning. They tuned all the way down to C, right? Tampa Red on a lot of his records is tuned all the way up to F. He's got his guitar real stiff, right? And gets a high-pitched sound. This is Vastapool. Here's one of Furry's absolutely economical, just drop-dead economical arrangements. Listen to this. In the style of Furry Lewis. I played with him for a few years in Memphis. I used to go on every once in a while. He liked to have a backup guitar player and somebody to help him get around. And I thought, here I am. You know, as far as I was concerned, the guy was God. You know, his recordings from the 1920s, especially his session from the summer of 1928, is it just doesn't get any better as far as self-accompanied blues with, you know, guitar and singing. There are no better recordings of it than the ones that Furry Lewis made at the Peabody Hotel in 1928. And so there I was with old Furry Lewis. He had his wooden leg and everything like that, played the guitar. And finally I felt like we were actually friendly. We became friends, and I would go to his house and I would bring him stuff and help him get around. Because he was seriously handicapped. He only had a prosthetic leg. And so finally I said, well, you know, maybe I'm in the inside loop with Furry. I can ask him for a guitar lesson. I can ask him to impart some of that magic that just flows out of his being like current juice out of a jelly bag, you know? And I said, Furry, would you show me how to play I Will Turn Your Money Green? And he said, why don't you get your own song? You're a better guitar player than I am. Furry Lewis, right? And it took me years to realize that that was the guitar lesson right there. You know, better than anything he could have showed me. So then I just hung around with him and watched him, which used to annoy him, you know, quite. But I watched him and listened to him and picked up some elements of his style. Great guitarist. So anyway, that's Vastapool right there. And then the other common tuning for bottleneck guitar is this one. In Spanish. This is an open G chord, but once again it's the intervals and not the particular notes. A lot of guitar players that use this tuning, especially the Delta guys, the Mississippi guys, whose playing has become very prominent because of the tiresome pronouncements of a lot of poodle-haired rock idols. But anyway, the Delta guys, this was a favorite tuning for them. And and they often used open A tuning. Son House, A, right? Robert Johnson, A, and he capoed at the 2nd fret, putting him in the key of B. That's why Terraplane Blues is in B. That ever drive you nuts? Yes. But anyway, yeah, but this is Spanish, and this is like the tonic note, that is G in this case, is on the 5th and 3rd string, and the low string and the high string are D. So the tuning is spelled D, G, D, G, B. There's your 3rd. See, I wouldn't lie to you. And D. Right? So the 5th is on top. Okay. And some of you may be employing your musical perspicacity, and you may say, hey, wait a minute. Spanish is nothing but Vasta moved over a string. Yes, sad but true. That's why a lot of, this is something to look out for, is that any licks that you learn, any phrases or anything that you learn in one tuning can often be employed in the other tuning simply by moving them over a string. Get it? In Vastapool, the 3rd is between the interval of the 3rd is between the 4th and 3rd string. In Spanish, the interval of the 3rd is in between the 3rd and 2nd string. There it is, do, re, mi. Right? But basically, it's all fifths. It's, you know, it's all fifths with 1/3 in it, and it's just a question of moving the 3rd over a string.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the strings again?
Okay, this is Spanish, and what I have here, the lowest string is D, which in context is open G tuning, so it would be a 5th. D, then G, then another D, then a G, and a B right there. That's a 2nd string. And a D, right? Or in musical terms, that's 5, that's 1, that's 5, that's 1, there's 3, and there's 5. Why is it called Spanish? Because Spanish people use it. Well, yeah, but no, that's not why it's called that. Once again, the American vernacular popular guitar styles of the 19th century come into play. As a matter of fact, it's Henry Worrell again. Remember that name? The guy whose piece lent the reason why people call it Vastapool is because Henry Worrell, the great guitar pedagogue of the 19th century, made a song called Sebastopol, which was actually supposed to be a guitar instrumental that was musical impressions of a battle in the Crimean War. And anyways, then and also Henry Worrell was the composer of this is inarguably the single most popular piece of American guitar music of the 19th century, right? And it's called the Spanish Fandango. Once again, like a lot of these popular compositions, it has melodic variations that are based around a similar theme. So like Spanish Fandango has 4 parts, and they all go like this. But you see what I'm doing? See why this was popular? Look, I'm playing the whole melody on the 1st string. And you see why this kind of guitar was popular back in the age when if you wanted to hear some music, you either had to know somebody who played it, or else you had to play it yourself, right? And people, social music, social vernacular music was real popular because people would get together and somebody would play, you know. And so you see, you could entertain your friends with music like this. If you had a guitar, you could learn some of these pieces, and it would be nice. After supper, you could play, and everybody'd have drinks and stuff like that. Start into fighting, wreck the joint. No, but anyway, but meanwhile, the performer the performers themselves of this kind of music wouldn't have to knock themselves out to learn how to play it, right? You didn't exactly have to be a virtuoso to play nice, pretty sounding music on the guitar. So motifs like this that were devised by people like Henry Worrell, or the great African-American guitar virtuoso of the 19th century, Justin Holland, whose Comprehensive Guitar Methods, Volume 1, 2, and 3, really had a lot to do with the way we play the guitar now. Right? Justin Holland was also like a total hair farmer, and he was like completely dressed, I mean like tricked out. He had like high heel pointy shoes and like totally suited out, like box back, like go Justin, you know what I mean? And like total dreads and everything. He played for the Queen of Switzerland and everything like that. He was a real cool looking guy. And he was like, you know, a guitar guy. But you could get books by these guys like Henry Worrell and Justin Holland or Veda Alcott Bickford, people like that. And then you could learn these guitar pieces. So that's how we got the open tunings. So we have here, right? And then, so all fun. And this is the one that, in terms of blues, right, this tuning is the one that you use to do this. Robert Johnson, right? And then also, although Muddy Waters favored, he actually played guitar like one-string slide guitar. You see a lot of him doing it in the key of E, and he didn't even change the tuning on his guitar because he didn't have to play chord guitar parts or anything like that. He had Sammy Lawhorn and Pat Hare standing right behind him, and they had that covered, see? So he would take these 1- and 2-string solos on the guitar without retuning at all. But Muddy's first big guitar hit was a slide guitar arrangement of his own that was also in this tuning, went like this. This is the same. I know, I see all you slack key guitar players out there going, it's nothing but taro patch tuning, right? Correct, absolutely correct. This is the exact same tuning that is the most popular single tuning for Hawaiian slack key guitar. And it's also used by people in, when I was down in Brazil, I was fascinated to find out that the great acoustic musicians, the real jive, hard drinking, dancing party music from Brazil, it's called, from southern Brazil, called caipira, features violão d'arame, the wire guitar, often 5-string Baroque instruments that are finger-picked by the guitar players down there as part of the string ensembles those people use when they're behaving in the way that that music causes them to behave. And they use the same two tunings. They have the greatest names. I forgot what they call this open G tuning, but the open G tuning that we call, Americans call Vasta pool, they call it cebollão in Brazil. Cebollão, which in Brazilian Portuguese means the big onion. And I finally got to play the big onion. Isn't that a cool name for a tuning? So then I finally got to play with this guy named Paulinho da Violão. Paulinho da Violão. He was a viola player, and he was great. We were on a kind of a twin bill, like you know, blues meets caipira kind of thing in Brazil. And he was playing this great guitar player. And I said, hey Paulinho, I said, is that cebollão? He said, yeah. I said, how come you call it that? He said, because it makes the ladies cry. I said, all right, that's enough of that. Hey, we better wrap up here. I just noticed. Are there any other questions or anything you'd like to?
Maybe a little bit about the way that you use your finger picks and how you've got them arranged.
Oh, well, I play with a thumb and 2 fingers. This is a plastic thumb pick. It's the kind that has the Golden Gate Bridge on it. They're very good. right? Because they don't break. A lot of finger picks break here, or they lose their tensile strength, and then they don't stick to your finger. I like mine. You see the red spot on my finger? Ouch, that hurts. I like my picks to fit really tight. So these Golden Gate picks are really good. And then these picks come from Ventura, California, so that there is no excuse for anybody here not to have some. These are Pro Pick, P-R-O-P-I-K. And they're David Guptill, right up in Ventura, makes these. These are demonstrably the best metal finger picks you can buy. And I like them for their tensile strength, their durability. They're really good. They stick to your finger. They feel like the old National picks from the 1940s that are so coveted now. And then I wear my picks, these picks are good, so they conform to the angle of my finger, see? So it's really just like a second finger, except just made out of steel, you know?
So are you, on those two, are you picking down through the strings? You're not picking sideways?
No, when you play the guitar, if you want to go down like this, if you want a downstroke on a string, you play it with your thumb. If you want an upstroke on a string, you play it with your finger, and that's the law. This business of playing the guitar like this, right? You know, like that guy with the hat that you see on television? No, absolutely no. Fingers up, thumb down, and that's the law, right? There are other styles of guitar playing where you do rasgueado and stuff like that, but not this one. Right? That's all upstrokes of my fingers and downstrokes. Finger picks. People say, oh, well, I can't, when I use finger picks, they're very awkward. They fall off and I can't feel the strings. Why you would want to feel a piece of steel wire that's under 27 foot-pounds of pressure, I have no idea, but whatever blows your dress up, you know. But anyways, I can't feel the strings. And the other thing they say is, when I wear finger picks, I can't do this, right? That's another reason why you should wear finger picks, you know, because then you won't do that and you won't sound like that. So, anyways, but